Welcome back, everyone. We heard you were hard at work in the breakout room, and we can't wait to see what you've done. But first, let me hand it back to Betsy to kick off the Q&A and wrap up and introduce some of our amazing college mentors.
Of course. Oh, I am excited. I have heard that you all have some amazing things to share with us. As we get started for aerodynamics, is there a school that would like to go first? I think I heard Sparks High School may be ready.
See? If so, you can unmute or raise a hand so I can find you and pin you.
Yeah.
Spot you here. But your camera has to be on.
Okay. As they're getting ready, I'm curious. When you come forward with your designs, I want to know what you designed for. Did you design to go the furthest? Did you design to go the fastest? Maybe you did a combination of the two, and maybe you put some other stipulations like, I want to go the straightest. I want to hit a target. So I want to hear all the details that you might have in your classrooms. If you have any classrooms that are ready, we're happy to showcase them. Otherwise, we'll just jump in with our interns. Is there any class ready? Maybe Dover? See some hands.
More head high. All right, let's find Mr. Bradshaw.
Perfect. I'm going to stop sharing so we can see you bigger.
You guys are maybe able to you don't know if you have multiple devices.
There you go.
That's perfect.
Perfect.
My name is Raphael. I'm a student at Moorhead, and I made something we call the Hunter Glider. See?
I see. I like the Hunter glider. What do you like about the Hunter plane?
Um, it's a glider, but it can go far. And what I realized is very top heavy, so I added a few paper clips to the back to counteract that.
Oh, I love that you did that. That's so smart. So we call that ballast to put some more weight in the back, but also you did it for a structural reason too, in order to kind of help hold that main body together, I think is what I understood you were saying. So that's really good. Why do you think it works so well?
Because it has a narrow body and a large wingspan. You can also modify it to have vertical stabilizers or rudders.
That's some great observations there. Annie, did you have any that you wanted to add? Or how about you, Romina?
I wanted to I wanted to say that I think the shape of your design is pretty good, and I can tell that's going to be very steady because of it. Some people, opt to go for speed and try to make it really long and skinny, but then, kind of can't really control where their plate is going, and sometimes they're not really folded correctly either. But it looks very, very even, and I really love the paperclip solution. I think a lot of people wouldn't think to do that. People would just refold it, but you kind of just implemented or added to your design, which was very, very smart. Ramina, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with the comments that Annie made, but also I like to see how your mind is thinking in a structural way. I'm also a structural engineering student, so it's always cool to see that. So, good
All
job. Well
right, are you
done.
going to test it for us?
Yeah, let's see.
Give it a
Yes, I will test it.
Let's see what it can do.
All right.
Oh, let me try that again.
Yeah, sure, go for it. That's what we're here for. Oh, I see. I saw some upward action there. I think that had to do with your angle of attack. I want to thank you so
Yeah.
much for being the first to present. Way to go. You put a lot of good thought into why your airplane was a good design. High five to you.
Awesome job. And I believe this is one of our Spark Labs down in North Carolina, housed at Morehouse. Thank you so much, guys. Who's next?
I think is Trinity Episcopal ready or
Or
I'm not sure if that was
Harlingen.
like a volunteering. Yeah, Harlingen South. Are you guys ready?
Hello, how are y'all?
Hello,
We've never done this
good.
before, so bear with us. But they do want to present. They have a great model, so I'm going to switch it over to Lacey actually.
Hi
And
there. Oh, they muted me.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Lacey Avila. I'm a senior at Harlingen High School South, and they're here to show you their model.
Hello.
Fantastic. Hey. So tell us about your designs.
So the design that we made is kind of, I'm not really sure what to call it, but I just added tape to the wings and the front, so that way the wings don't open up and everything stays uniform. And I added tape to the front, so that way the nose doesn't bend left or right, so it stays pretty straight.
Very nice. And I love that you added the tape there. It looks like it's very folded very specifically so that it's not going to have any increased drag as you let go of it too. I'm curious, how far did you get it to go?
I'm not really too sure. We didn't measure it.
Okay, so
But
you were just going for flight time, maybe as far as it could go?
yes, ma'am, just as far as it could go.
Fantastic. And what do you plan on doing after you graduate?
I'm not too sure. I wanted to go to college for mechanical engineering, but I'm not too sure yet.
Okay, well, that sounds like a good plan. It looks like you have some good engineering skills with that plane. Do you want to fly it or you want to wait and have both of you fly it together with the next gentleman that's on the right there?
I can throw it right now.
Yeah, go for it. Thank you so much.
Bro, this shit's gonna like fall on the floor.
I see Lacey.
It goes very far, so I had to step back.
I told you, bro. Just hit the speed.
Holy smokes.
wasn't there.
That was good.
Guys, it just wasn't a throw. It's okay. I swear this airplane is solid. I've seen it in
Put it that
action.
way, put it that way. Put it that way, there's no-
Okay, I'll
That's
check.
awesome.
Go for it. He's going.
More try.
Bro, see, I told you.
Wow.
It has some good data.
Just nervous. But that was so good.
Excellent.
See, man, there's-
High five to you. Nice design.
And I think
Even if that was the best.
Thank you guys so much for watching our paper airplanes. I think that was pretty cool, and we have other cool stuff to show you. So thank y'all so much for having us.
Oh,
That's it for us.
thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Thank you guys for showing.
Yeah, I think I could just hand this over to Lacey at this point. She can host the rest of the event. Awesome job. And if you have more, we can always come back to you. We have a line going. I saw Dover. So let me find which screen to spotlight. Is it this one? Oh, not this one. We have a we have a few views of Dover.
It's
Oh,
this one.
hey. Hi.
Enough, guys. Okay. Come on down.
All right. What I like so far, Annie and Ramita, is I've seen different types of aircraft that they've created already. So I'm super excited to see this one. All right. Go ahead and introduce yourself and what you created.
I made this for range. And with Ethan.
Very good.
Hello, Ethan.
I made this
Do you want to talk about your design? Oh, go ahead. My bad.
Yeah, the more force you throw into this, the farther it'll go.
Maybe what you put inside the center and
Oh yeah,
the things you added to it.
I added this so it could catch a little more air.
What is this?
I added a tube.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
So kind of like those Formula One cars that have almost like a structure that helps direct the airflow through the structure to lessen the drag, it seems like. Is that what you were going with on that?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right.
Have you
Very
tested
cool.
it out? Do you want to try
Yeah.
it in front of
I
us?
think you should back up that way. And I think, is that good?
Yes.
Yeah, that looks great.
Oh, wow.
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 Can they see where it landed there?
That went really far. And I noticed that it went fairly straight too. Nice job.
Thank you, Ethan.
Good job. Thank you for showing.
Do we have anyone else in that class that'd like to share theirs as well?
Woo, go Ethan. Does anybody else want to share? Yes? Yes, we have one more person that can share. Thank you.
All right.
Nice job, Ethan. After this, we're going to more Catholic, then Trinity, and then back to Harley.
Okay, who's going?
Say your name.
Hello, my name is Aiden Neighbors, and this is the plane that I made. Original, it was a little bottom heavy. So I added a paper clip in the front, but a full paper clip wasn't enough. So I just kind of added like almost a piece of it. But I have these to try to like keep it straight. Yeah.
Ready to test it?
Awesome.
Yeah,
I've never
go
seen
for
a
it. I
design
love
like
your
that. That's pretty
vertical
cool.
stabilizers there.
Go.
Ooh, that was very steady.
It went
A lot of
so
times with
smooth.
planes, you'll see like a lot of curvature movement, but that was very impressive.
Was really good.
I like the creative approach you had to the design.
Yes,
Very
it's
cool.
it's not often we see ones that have those tails towards the back, those vertical stabilizers, kind of like the F-22s and things like that. So way to go. Very nice job.
Good job. Thank you for allowing us to share.
Thank you, Dover High School. Excellent job. All right, more Catholic.
Go down.
Coming to you. Okay, we can see we're walking with you. If you could unmute.
All right,
Oh,
guys.
yeah, looks like we're gonna test in the hallway.
Come on. Okay. We're going in here?
No, face this way.
No,
You should
come
go
on.
Wait,
Come on. Come on.
All right, I see you have a couple planes there. Is someone
All right,
willing to
guys.
talk about their plane?
No, someone's talking about their plane, bro. I'm not talking.
Nice long hallway to test.
Come on.
Who's
Colby.
going first?
All right, I see some really streamlined planes there.
all right, ready?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Heather, talk about your plane.
DG said he's gonna.
Oh, we might just be testing. That's cool too.
Oh,
Oh,
nice,
yeah.
Colby.
I see some
Ooh, look at
distance.
that. That was good. Look at that.
Wow, that's almost all the way down the hall.
Oh. Where's
Good
DG?
job.
Wait, DG has a good one.
Excellent.
Those were some great tests. Not every day you get to throw things in school, right, guys?
That was really, really good. Thank you, more Catholic. All right, Trinity, coming to you.
Hi, everybody. We've got 2 students that want to present. Here we go.
Excellent.
Hi, I'm Brody Bajer, and I made this airplane, and I based it off of Despicable Me, and I tried to make it like similar to that. See?
Nice.
I love
Yeah,
these.
and I kind of made it like really thin and really straight to make it go fast. Kind of.
Okay, and what force does that reduce when you make it like that? What force are you reducing there?
Look over here.
Drag.
Yeah, you got it. Awesome. All right. I think we're ready to test it. What do you think, Annie?
Absolutely.
Can y'all
Let's
see?
it. It's a pretty big caution. Yeah, reads
Yeah.
perfectly.
This is our innovation lab. Oh! All right, who's next? Ben.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah.
Gotta learn how to
Nice
act under
job.
pressure. Yay, thank you.
My name is Ben Poe, and I made this Susan airplane. And I put tape here to stop it from opening up. And I put paper clips to make it stop going so high and glide.
Very nice.
Nice. Let's see
Romina, I'm hearing some structural things there that probably go right up your alley. Do you have any comments you want to add?
With the first one that was inspired by Despicable Me, I wonder how it's gonna perform if it's done with like a bigger paper in terms of like, I guess, lift. But that's pretty cool. I was so impressed. The inspiration was awesome.
Fantastic. Okay, in the second plane, I see has that structural tape there. He's also thought about some ballast in the front. I'm ready to test it. What about you, Annie?
So let's see it.
Let's see it then.
No pressure, no pressure.
Yeah.
Whoa.
that was good.
That was
Impressive.
pretty smooth
That was
there.
smooth. That might have been the smoothest one, I think.
Yeah, nice design.
Excellent.
Cool.
But
This is where
look, Brody throws
balance
it at Ben. Thank you, Trinity. You guys did a great job. Let's see. You know what? Where's my girl Lacey? We said we would come back because they had a few more students that wanted to test. Ready? Come on up. Yeah, unmute first.
Hey there. What's your name? Yeah.
You're coming to unmute. There we go.
I don't like hearing my voice on
You don't
this.
like
No, I
it?
don't like hearing my voice.
Where's the other one? Go introduce yourself. Go.
Hi, I'm Leighton, and this is my plane based off of SR-71 Blackhawk.
Yeah, this is Layden.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Santiago wants to present.
And we also have Santiago to present his. This is Santiago. Woo!
Welcome.
Okay, so they're gonna show you their design.
What did you guys? Okay. What did you guys make your designs off of?
An SR-71 Blackhawk.
And you?
Just simple, efficient. Hopefully it works.
Stuff in my style.
And yeah, minor engineering.
Who's going faster? Which one's going faster?
I'm willing that his goes fast. Mine's slow.
Okay, let's show them.
Sure it goes.
All right. Before you test, does anyone have any control surfaces that you've added? Do you have any?
Tape. Do you have anything have you added?
Tape.
Tape? Yes.
Tape?
Okay. I added some tape to it and a paper clip right here.
Okay, the paper clip is ballast. Nice. Okay. And I see some winglets on the SR plane over there. Some winglets too. Super. All right, you guys, you ready to test it?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Bring it with the camera. All right. Watch out, everybody.
Oh, that was smooth.
And we have one more try. One more try.
Pretty awesome.
Oh. That's okay. Do it.
If it wasn't for the ceiling, right? Now you know why I do the hunter with the nose. Yeah, go for it.
Whoa.
There you go.
Let's hear it for Santiago.
You definitely see that the way you throw it is like very important, right? Something we try to make sure, which is hard in this setting, is that you're doing it the same way every time.
That's a really great point, Annie.
Ooh.
Good.
Very good.
Stay here with you guys all day. Excellent job. Do you have any other schools that want to be spotlighted? Show us your designs. Let it rip. I think
there was one.
Was it Dover?
Maybe.
Oh, Challenge Prep? Oh, Dover.
ABL.
Okay.
Let me see.
Oh. So this view of Dover.
Here.
All right, I'm Corey Bones. I made this. I got like a straw in it. It's more for like speed and somewhat accurate, but not super accurate.
I'm James Buckenbarger. This one's for like distance and speed. I put a straw there to get more air into the middle of it, so it would.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I love that you added the straws because those are what we would consider something like a stringer is the name of it. And they provide like structural support through the fuselage or through the parts of your aircraft. So actually we use those types of things in real aircraft as well for those structural components to help balance out and distribute all those forces. So I love that you incorporated it in your aircraft. What do you gentlemen want to do when you get out of school?
I might go to the military, probably Army, then go to college, become a mechanic.
I want to go to the Marine, and then I want to go to college for welding.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. We definitely need some awesome people in our militaries, and it sounds like you guys have some really great futures ahead. All right, I'm ready to check out your aircraft.
How about both of you throw them at the same time? Make a
Romina,
little
do you want to count it
competition.
down for him?
I don't know if I can do this.
I'll do it. I can do it.
Go, Romina.
Can you see?
Are you guys ready?
Oh my
3,
God.
2, 1. Ooh, that was pretty close.
Pretty
Good job,
even,
guys.
yeah.
Close competition.
Nice job.
Well done, guys.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you
Way
for
to
go,
sharing.
Dover.
Am I missing anyone? Is
Have
there
to
any?
explain.
Anyone else want to come up and share? If not,
Just-
that's fine. Let's hear from our college mentors. Let's hear from Romina and Annie.
Oh shoot,
Annie,
I
would you like?
accidentally. Okay, there we go. Hi guys, my name is Annie. So you guys might have seen me in the breakout room already. A brief introduction, but the longer one is that I am, like I said, a senior at the University of Notre Dame. Today's actually my last day of classes ever, so quite sad. I'm studying or studied, I guess, computer science and economics. And then I also picked up a minor in Chinese. So if you guys have questions about what it's like to choose what to major in, what it's like to double major, how to figure out if you can do that, right? Or picking up a minor, picking up something that maybe it's just more for your interests. Those are all questions that I definitely had in your position going into college, and it's a whole complicated process. So, if you have questions about that, please let me know. I also studied abroad when I was in London. So, if you have questions about that, that's also something I can touch on. But the next slide, I should probably be talking about more about myself then. Oh, never mind. I'll pass it out to Ramina now. Yeah.
Hi, guys. Well, congratulations, Andy, on your last day of college. My name is Romina. I'm also a senior at Virginia Tech. I'm studying civil engineering with a focus in structures, and I'm also double major in Spanish. So if that's something that you guys are interested about and you're curious about, I can definitely talk about it a little bit. I'm also going to grad school for the next 2 years for the structural engineering and material program. So maybe if that's something that you guys are considering as well, I know it's kind of farther into your career, but I can be of help. I've also been I've been a mentor here with Engineering Tomorrow for the past 3 years, and I've been loving it. Working with you guys, it's been awesome. So, yeah.
Oh, awesome. So the students have submitted some questions to us. And one of the questions that we get a lot and specifically has to do with what's the hardest transition from going from high school to college?
Yeah, I can start this off. I think the hardest part that people fail to recognize is that up till college, your entire life has been very, very structured, right? And college is still pretty structured. By all means, it's much more structured than I think adulthood is. But in high school, you go to class, you get to school at like what 8 a.m., and then you leave at like 3 p.m. And this entire time you're in classes, and these classes are pretty long. You go to them pretty frequently. You have lunch at the same time as your friends. Your clubs are at the exact same time. Clubs are only meeting at, after school or before school. It's just very, very structured, right? You go home and then you eat and you do your homework. College is a completely new field because everybody's classes and structures are completely different. You have your friends starting at 8 a.m. You have yourself starting at 2 p.m. Finding that, common ground time to hang out and catch up is very difficult, right? There's so many clubs and organizations on campus that you're bound to have things overlap with each other. So what are you going to prioritize? How are you going to structure your time so that you actually have time to do homework, right? And let's not even mention like, going to the gym. I know a lot of people maybe play sports in high school and then don't do it in college, but you still want to stay in shape, so you have to carve out that time to do that, right? And then on top of that, you have to find a time to eat, and you have to find a time to do laundry and clean your room, when nobody else is telling you to. Your parents aren't there. So with all of that, like time management, structural differences, it takes a lot of self-discipline to kind of put yourself in a position where you can kind of balance everything, right? And aside from that, having like a very structured, like my high school is small. I don't know if you guys have large high schools, but my high school is small enough where I basically knew, like, at least half the students in my grade. College, depending on where you go to, you might not see a single face that you recognize, for half of your day. And you need to be the one to kind of put yourself out there in a position where you can make friends and you can actually maintain those friendships. So I think it takes a lot of self-discipline and openness that people don't really recognize is the biggest change in my opinion. But what about you, Ramina?
Yeah, I definitely agree. When you transition to becoming a college student, you have more responsibilities to juggle, but you also have this autonomy that I feel like in a different way that you haven't had in high school. Again, as Annie kind of mentioned, you don't have your parents telling you, oh, you have this, or like reminding you about certain tasks that you need to do. So a lot of it comes down to you holding yourself accountable, but then at the same time, figuring out what works for you with your schedule, like how you're gonna make sure that you're getting all of those tasks done without also feeling burnt out. But another transition, kind of Annie touched on it, but your friends, you might go to a school that none of your high school friends are going to be at. So you're going to have to kind of put yourself out there a little bit more, try to make friends, join organizations, and then find your people at college. And once you do, it's amazing from there on. So it's definitely, I know, like we don't want to scare you with all the responsibilities that get added on, but just navigating that little time, the transition time, and then you're set after that.
So Annie and Romina, you're both seniors. I think it's so awesome. Do you have any words of wisdom looking back on your college that you wish you would have done differently or you want to pass on to these students that are here with us today?
Yeah, there's a lot of things. I think hindsight is 2020, right? Um, and I think that the biggest one for me is I think when you're 18 years old, right, you're a senior in high school, and you think that you know everything about your life. You've been living in this bubble of your whatever hometown, and you meet all these people, and you're like, oh, I know how my life is gonna look. I know how I want it to look. I know the types of people that I like hanging around with. I know like what I like to do, but the reality is that you truly don't know anything, and of course, I think even if you go to school in your hometown for college, you're still going to meet so many more people that you never have ever thought to ever encounter. I went to school, miles, thousands of miles away, not thousands, hundreds, I think. But if you have the framework in your mind that you know about yourself already, like you know everything there is to know, or at least a rough idea, I think that really inhibits you from actually exploring the other sides of yourself that you haven't even gotten to know yet. So what I wish I did better looking back was not have such a closed-minded view on what my life was and who I was, and rather from both an academic standpoint, right, like exploring different classes, majors, minors, from a social standpoint, just reaching out to people, even if that's not the type of person you might normally get along with in high school, seeing if there's something there to click on, and clubs, right? There's so many clubs, like there's like maybe too many clubs to even check out. And for example, like I have a background screen, but above me there are frisbees because I tried out ultimate frisbee here at Notre Dame, something that I never would have ever thought, to do in high school. And turns out, really enjoyed it. So I think if you open yourself up to genuinely anything, any small interaction, first club meeting, all of those can drastically change your life. If you just have that framework in mind, I wish I had that. I think you'll be very sad, to have a good college career. But what about you, Ramina?
Yeah, I love how Annie said, like being open to different experiences. But another thing I would say is that you don't need to have everything figured out right off the bat. And like, you don't need to overcommit yourself to certain organizations. It looks good for the resumes and everything, but at the same time, it's important to maintain a balance throughout whatever you do. So kind of be intentional with what you give your time to, would be kind of my advice. But at the same time, just kind of looking back at it, it took me 5 years to finish undergrad. And because I added a Spanish major, and I didn't even know that that was something that I would ever choose as a major until after I took some classes and I was like, okay, I'm interested in. So I initially got into school thinking that I was going to do civil engineering, and I ended up adding another major. So it's like your life changes. You have to be flexible to those things. You're going to find certain things that you didn't know were your interests or you were passionate about, and then you find that. So just again, being open to it and realizing that everyone's timeline is different. So you don't have to like feel pressured with certain things too, would be my advice.
That is some seriously amazing advice for all of us, and not just you students out there, but for all of us. Annie and Romina, you have done a fantastic job helping these students understand kind of your journeys and your next steps, and also helping them with their design. So I just want to give a huge thank you to you and for all that you've done for Engineering Tomorrow, and good luck as you are ending your senior years and starting your next chapters. I believe we have our keynote speaker who is ready to join us. Let me double check and share here. All right, so I have the amazing pleasure to introduce you to Janelle Wellens. She has a BS in aerospace engineering from MIT. Woohoo! That's awesome. She has worked for NASA's JPL, or what we call it, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, working on various missions such as Sentinel, SWAT, and Cassini, as well as Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter. She's the Senior Mission Operations Engineer at iSpace Incorporated, and she has won the Bruce Murray Award for Inspiring STEM Engagement. I feel so honored and blessed to be able to share her with you all and to be able to have a discussion with you. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Janelle.
Hello, everybody. So I'm calling into you today from Tokyo, and I'm having some technical difficulties with my main computer trying to get my presentation up. So if you give me just one moment, I'd like to try and
Can somebody figure
rejoin.
out the speakers? See if you can.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes. I hear you great. You sound great.
Okay, great. I just am trying to join from my other computer.
No problem.
All right.
Let's
Looks like I'm in.
And we can
All right,
pull
let
up.
me quit on this one and go to the other one if that's all right.
Of course.
Take your time, and I can pull this up on my end also, Janelle.
Perfect. And yes, as Janelle is getting set up, I think it is such an honor that she has joined us from across the world, y'all. We are so blessed as she's actively working missions, that she's taking her evening to spend with us in order to explain kind of her journey and where it all kind of began for her and how it's, evolved over time. And she has such an amazing story. I think you're going to really love it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Can you hear me now on my new computer?
You sound great, Janelle.
Amazing. Then let me go ahead and share my screen and then hit play on this. Can you all see all right?
Sure can. You look great.
Okay, thank you so much for the introduction, Betsy. I really appreciate you. It's nice to see all the students. This is going to be a really great talk, and I think I'm more excited about the questions that you will be asking me than anything else. So today, I'd like to take you on a journey through the stars and my journey as well on how I reached this place operating things in space. So like any beginning, first I have to start with a disclaimer that today all the thoughts and the opinions that I share are my own and they are not of my employer here in Japan. But I am happy to take your questions and hopefully answer anything that you have in mind. Okay, so starting off, you have to begin somewhere. And for me, it's the beginning. This is my beginning. When I was growing up, I'm going to tell you now, I had zero idea that one day I would be in the position that I am in now. One, I never thought that I'd be working in space. And two, I absolutely never thought that I'd be living in another country. But here I am sitting at this messy engineer's desk because I was at Bring Your Child to Work Day. And while neither my mother or my father were engineers, they did introduce me to a very young age that curiosity was something that you should nurture and should grow. And because of that, I always had an open mind about what I could be potentially one day. So let's fast forward a little bit to where we are in high school. And suddenly you have to start thinking about these things, even if it's just a little bit. So I get to junior year and I start to receive mail that's advertising these different colleges around the country. And I really had nowhere to begin with these. So I have been piling them up, putting them under my bed. And when I ran out of room there, just throwing them in the trash can. So me, I come home from school one day and I see that I've got some new mail and I take a look at it and then I'm going to throw it out in the bin. But my mom stops me. She sees that on top of the pile I have is this pamphlet from a school called the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, or MIT. And I had never heard of it. And she says, "What are you doing with that pamphlet? MIT is a great school." I'm like, "Well, okay, I didn't know." We take a look. It's an advertisement for this summer program where you apply, and if you get in, it's totally free of cost to spend 6 weeks on MIT's campus learning about science and engineering and math with other students from around the country. So my mom made me apply. And I applied thinking absolutely nothing of it. In fact, I procrastinated and I applied the night before it was due. But then that spring, when I was coming home from track practice, my mom gave me a call saying I needed to hurry up because she has something in the mail and I need to open it right now. And I don't know what she's getting excited about because we had been over it. I had learned MIT is one of the best schools in the country, and there's absolutely no way someone like me is going to get in. But then when I get home and I take the package from her and I say, "Mom, don't get your hopes up," she says, "Janelle, they don't send you a package to tell you that you didn't get in." I was like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, she might have a point here. And I open it up, and lo and behold, she's right. It was a congratulations for me to get brought to MIT. Here is the dorm I stayed in. It's called Simmons Hall. It's made up of a bunch of windows. It kind of looks like a sponge, and it embodies the weirdness of MIT. And I think what makes it absolutely cool and great, in the bottom right, you can see the engineering capstone class where we made this robot and it had to move this thing off the top of the dome of the school of a model. And I was inspired from not really knowing what I wanted to do to finally knowing that at least I wanted to go to MIT. Now, MIT, as you can see from the dorm, has some stuff going on. Here's some other buildings there. One in the top left is called the Stata Building. It kind of looks like something out of a Dr. Seuss book. You've got the buildings going to the left, the right, diagonal. How does it stand? On the bottom left is a roller coaster that was built by students to welcome in all of the new people to the college. And on the right-hand side, we have a building. And I saw this on the way home from going to some office hours one day. And maybe you're thinking in your head that this looks familiar. What are those lights on the side of the building for? Well, they're for a game that you may have heard of before called Tetris. This is the type of school that MIT was. You go walking by and someone's like, "Come here, come here, come here." They wanted to share that you could play Tetris on the side of the green building just for fun. I have math classes in here. So I start my time at MIT. I'm a student. I'm from New Jersey. I moved to Massachusetts. My family comes, drops me off. My dad's not pictured here, but you can see my uncle and my aunts. I'm not sure where he was for this picture, actually, and my brother. And when they leave, I'm like, wow, so that's it. It's just me now. I got to figure this out. I had figured out which school I wanted to go to. I got accepted into it after applying, but now I had to figure out the next step. What am I supposed to do with my life? What's my major? So I start speaking to some upperclassmen and I asked them for advice because in my mind, I really liked math. So maybe I'll become a theoretical mathematician. I had gone through a phase, some deep dives on YouTube about knot theory and all the types of math that we hadn't even touched on in school. But after speaking to some upperclassmen, they really encouraged me that because MIT is an engineering school, I should really just give engineering a try. I took them up on that offer. MIT offers tons and tons of introductory level courses for their majors so that you can get a taste of what is to come without having to fully commit. In fact, freshmen can't even declare a major until the end of their first year. So, looking at the list, you can be a mechanical engineer, a chemical engineer, an ocean engineer, computer engineer, electrical engineer. The choices felt endless, and I had no idea where to start. But then I came across one major called aerospace engineering. And while I didn't know the first thing about it, I did know the first thing about space. I mean, how many people don't think that space is just a little cool? Just a little. And the prospect of being able to actually work in space, it had never crossed my mind before. It's not to say I never thought that space was cool growing up, looking up at the stars and thinking about the black holes. But to think that you could actually work in space, like that's something that astronauts do. And personally, I didn't know any astronauts, so it didn't feel like a very real career. So I go to the class to learn more about it. My professor's at the top of the room and he's going over the syllabus and what we're going to learn over the course of the year. He says we're going to learn the rocket equation, we're going to learn how planes fly, and also we'll learn a little bit about the history of space flight. And he shows this image of an astronaut fixing the Hubble telescope. And I remember just looking at this and thinking, wow, like, whoa, this is so cool. Like, you can work on stuff like this. And then my professor, he looks at us and so casually just says, yeah, and that astronaut in the photo, that's me. No big deal, though. Like, what? Huh? Suddenly, I went from never knowing anybody who had ever touched space before in my life to being in the same room as a former NASA astronaut who was going to be my professor for the semester. Insane. And for me, this was my aha moment. My aha moment that led to me taking all of these courses over the course of my years at MIT. There's a picture of me and that professor, Professor Hoffman. He's holding that missile-looking thing, our final project that we went up to, I think, Maine or Vermont to drop in a pile of snow and simulate doing a seismic experiment on an icy world. And I graduated class of 2016 in this major. And so back when I was taking those classes and I was talking to my parents one day after I declared my major, they asked me, so what are you going to do with this thing? Like, what exactly are you going to do as an aerospace engineer? And I was like, well, I don't know. NASA? I don't like, isn't that like the space thing? And I really hadn't known much about NASA besides the fact that they are the space company. But as I took these classes and I spoke to these professors and I got to know the industry more, a particular NASA center really started to stand out. Let's simulate a Mars landing like the Curiosity rover from the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Or let's simulate sending a probe to Jupiter like the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, JPL, this place. It just kept coming up. And I was interested and I wanted to find out more. And so every year at the career fair, I went out with my resume. I applied for the internship, and I got rejected, got rejected. But I never gave up on myself. And senior year, I went at it one more time, and I actually did land a job at the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory, located in Pasadena, California, amongst this beautiful mountain landscape. And it changed my life. I stepped into that laboratory on my first day with my heart beating so fast because I really had no idea what I was signing myself up for. But I quickly learned that it was to work on some of the coolest space missions known to man. Behind me in the left picture is a model of the Curiosity rover. And then on the right-hand side is its brothers and sisters. I'm not sure, I can't see the full screen, but it has some twins that came before it to test out the waters. Like, first, can we operate something the size of a microwave on the surface of Mars? And then it scaled up until now we're at the size of a car with the Perseverance mission. So this became my life. And more importantly, this became my life. My job title was to be an instrument operations engineer working out of the Mission Control Center of JPL. And I remember when I learned this was my job, I mean, I was so excited to sign the dotted line. I mean, sign me up. But to be honest with you, I really didn't know what this meant. What in the world is an instrument operations engineer? Well, what I found out is that, okay, first step, instruments obviously not referring to a musical instrument, right? We're talking about scientific instruments, instruments that allow us to learn more about the whys we go to these places, the hows, the when was this formed. They are information gathering. They can be remotely sensing. The instruments give us the purpose for these missions. Then the operations engineer part, I like to think of it this way. You've got your spacecraft, and your spacecraft's job is to keep you alive and get you from point A to point B. Depending on the type of mission you're working on, point A to point B could be in a permanent orbit around another planet or around a moon of another planet. Or it can be to land on the surface of another planet. So you've got this spacecraft, it's keeping you alive, it's getting you where you need to go. And then you've got the instruments on board that's telling you all the things you want to learn about the places you want to go. And an operations engineer, we work in the mission control to actually get the mission completed. We speak on the headsets like you see me in the picture here. We speak to the spacecraft from Earth and we give it its instructions in order to complete its job. In other words, it's one of the coolest jobs on Earth. You get to talk to things in space every day. So in JPL, we actually call this room the center of the universe because of all the data from all these spacecraft that are beyond Earth, the moon, and wherever you can think are speaking from space, and the data is getting routed back here in Pasadena, California. Super cool place, a super cool thing to be a part of. And in my 5 years working for JPL, I had the chance to work on 5 different missions that I've listed here. The Cassini mission, you can maybe tell it has my heart a little bit because all the pictures in the background of this slide are from that mission and the cameras I operated on that mission. I went to Saturn. I got to see its end, the grand finale, one of the most memorable things in my career. You've also got LRO, the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter at the moon, the Multi-Angle Imager for Aerosols, or MAIA, a project all about measuring particulate matter, these small particles that if you breathe in can cause serious health issues for people worldwide. This is another project I got to touch, as well as Sentinel-6 and SWAT, both also focused on the Earth, the ways it's changing, and how we can use this data to potentially help. But you might have heard me say, well, I used to work at JPL. 5 years, an amazing time, my dream job. Remember, I was rejected, then finally accepted. Why in the world would I leave this place? Why would I do it? Well, one day I got this message on LinkedIn. It was in the middle of the pandemic of all times. And it was from a recruiter who said that, they had seen my profile and thought I would be this great match for a job opening they had at their location in Tokyo, Japan. Now you can imagine, and I saw this, I thought it was a scam, to be honest. Why in the world would another country be reaching out to me to work for them on what they're saying is going to be their maiden mission to land on the moon? But I went through with the interviews and I actually got the job and had no idea what to do with this information. Oh my gosh, I didn't even know this was real. Now I've got this opportunity and you're telling me to make a decision. I have weeks to make a decision that could change my life, that will change my life. So I actually turned it down. And I sat on it for a year and I realized that How often does something like this happen? That another country reaches out to you and says, hey, we'd love to give this opportunity to you. So I came back and said, you know what? Japan is for me. I'm moving. So I did. I left my job at NASA. I absolutely still love it to this day. But now I'm living in Tokyo, Japan, living a life that I never could have imagined and working in a very similar capacity as a senior mission operations engineer at a company called iSpace. It's a startup. Well, maybe we've moved beyond a startup, but it's very much the startup feel, very small team and doing very big things. So as a senior mission operations engineer, I work out of the room that you see pictured here, our mission control room. It's in the heart of something there. All right, the recording's back. So you never would expect it to be here, but it is. I'm holding an image, or not an image, a paper model of the thing that I actually operate in space and that I did operate in space on the first mission for us to land on the moon. It's a lander, so you see it's got legs, it goes to the moon and it lands. That's the idea, that's the goal. And to put this into perspective, at the time of this first mission back in 2022 when it launched, if it had landed, it would have been the first commercial mission ever to do so. Not that many haven't tried before. And you may have even seen that Firefly, a US startup, has actually successfully did it earlier this year. Congratulations to them. I'm hoping that we're up next with our second mission too. So how do we do this? How do you talk to things in space? How do you operate a mission? Well, it all starts with communication. These giant antennas that are placed in various places located around the world that send bits of data, zeros and one, that encode messages like this fun one that I stole from JPL, Dare Mighty Things. And these messages are constructed by people like me. We plan out the activities that we want to do, whether it be a maneuver, whether it be a landing activity, or even just your routine things that you check in with the spacecraft every day. And we send them. They're called commands. The other part is we have to get data back so that we understand what's happening. This is what we call telemetry. And the telemetry doesn't come in a form of the spacecraft speaking to us in sentences saying, hey, everybody, just want to let you know, all systems go, we're all green. And no, instead, it just gives us packets and packets and packets of data that we have to interpret by making displays like these that have meaning, where the greens, the yellows, the reds, they convey a story of how this spacecraft is actually performing. I like to think of it like the spacecraft is kind of like a kid. Like it's not smart enough to tell you exactly what's going wrong, but it can give you tons of hits, and you have many tools available at your disposal to try and investigate the root cause. Because to be quite honest with you, the job of a space operator, if everything goes exactly as planned, should be easy peasy. We come into work every day, everything's as expected. You check off all your checklist items. Oh, this looks all right. This looks all right. This looks all right. And you're good to go. But like any kid, they can get sick. And when they get sick, they can't exactly tell you all the time what is wrong with them. They may complain about having a fever or high temperature, or I don't feel good here. And we get this data and we have to interpret it like a doctor would a patient of what could be the root cause of that issue. And what we have from the spacecraft is just its data. So you have to be prepared to be a problem solver if you're going to work on console like this. So now, when I am in an active mission, besides being a mission operations engineer who plans all of these activities, who gets ready for them, who develops the software, who develops the checklist, the procedures, who rehearses, has the people involved, once I'm sitting on console, my title changes. You can see it blurred in the background, that thing on top of the monitor. It says flight. That is how I am referred to on console and when I'm sitting in this room during an active communication window with the spacecraft. I am one of the mission's flight directors. And it's not just a job for one person, because we operate the spacecraft every single day. So as a flight director, it is my duty and my responsibility to be the ultimate decision maker in this room. It's like an orchestra. You have the composer, or I don't know why I'm blanking on this. You know, the person sitting in the front doing this. That is my job. The conductor, thank you. You've got the conductor, and it feels like the flight is the conductor. You have a room full of experts who can give you information on the various subsystems of the spacecraft. You have your guidance, navigation, and control engineer who tells you the orientation that the spacecraft is in. Where is it pointing? This enables to charge up our batteries. We got the propulsion engineer. We have thrusters to fire if we need to make a change to our orbit or trajectory. You have the thermal engineers to monitor if components are getting too hot or too cold, if the heaters are doing their job to keep us alive and well. You have the software engineers who created all of the onboard software that acts as the brains of the whole operations. You have the avionics people who work with the communication systems, how we receive that data from those big antennas, as well as the power of how we power all of these electronics around us. The flight dynamics team who maps out how we're getting from the point A to the point B, the ground controllers who work directly with those antenna providers to make sure that we're able to send those commands and we're able to receive the telemetry. And then you've got the systems team who sits right next to me, who just like a conductor and just like the flight, works a lot during the design phase to make sure everyone is working in harmony. And then you've got the flight operations team that's composed of the flight director, of the operations engineer, who's like the subject matter expert on how to run all of our tools and how our subsystems work, and the spacecraft operator, who may just have the coolest job because they are the only ones in the room who actually can send anything to the spacecraft. So that's the team. That's who we've got going on. And this is the role that I play in it as the deputy mission director as well, which is a very recent promotion. It actually happened like 1.5 weeks ago. So very exciting for me. Also making decisions at the even higher level when we're not on console and something may affect the mission success, so very, very big issues, I also am able to weigh in on that too. It was a mouthful, but I hope you kind of get the picture. So you understand the what we do, but let me just tell you how it feels to be in this room, to be on console, behind the scenes of any mission control. There are things that you can never be prepared for. What you do know working in space is that things rarely ever go 100% perfectly to plan. It's just not the way it works. And if you go in with that attitude, you will be met with some very tough and challenging scenarios because you weren't even prepared mentally for the possibility of something going wrong. It is truly our jobs to step up in time-constrained, high-pressure, high-stakes scenarios and keep both the room calm and the mission successful. You may have heard of soft skills before. If you haven't, let me just give a brief rundown. You've got your hard skills, like, do you know how to code? Do you know how to use Microsoft and Excel? Do you know how to build things in a back end? Do you know what a propulsion system needs or does? These are your hard skills. These are the things that you learn throughout your education. But then you have the soft skills, the things like, are you a good presenter? Do you have good teamwork skills? Are you able to think clearly and think logically when everyone in the room is turned and looking at you? Can you work when there's cameras on you, when you're being live streamed to whoever wants to watch when they click a YouTube link? These are the soft skills, and they matter so much when you're sitting in this seat, because whenever there's any kind of critical activity coming up, everybody wants to panic. That's just human nature. Everyone's good coming into it. Then the day of is like, oh my gosh, but did we do this? But do we this? Can we try this? Just please, just this. And you have to be the voice of reason. The stop, breathe, think. Okay, I'll hear you out, but first I'm going to ask questions. You need to convince me that what you're proposing isn't being proposed out of panic, but is being proposed out of a need to actually do something that is non-harmful for the spacecraft. It is something that you don't know if you've got until you just do it. Not to say that we don't rehearse these things. In fact, the people part of this operation is just as important as the tools, as the software, as the spacecraft design. If the people aren't trained and ready to be on console, it is a catastrophe in that room, which is why we place so much emphasis on the people part. It's even things as simple as saying, hey, everyone's been sitting down and staring at a screen for 3 hours straight. I'm just going to mention to them, they can use the bathroom now. It's the small things. And it's something that I wouldn't trade for the world because it's really taught me and matured me as an engineer, being able to do things I never thought that I could because I was just thrown into the fire. And as a flight director, you are going to find yourself in situations where you don't have control necessarily. The thing may just have to work. In our first mission, it was an incredible experience to be part of a company's very first time in space. You could do all the testing you want on the ground that you want, but it's a whole different ballgame when you're out there and you're seeing your spacecraft for the first time, trying to achieve all its goals. And we did fantastically. I'm so proud of my team. I'm so proud of our company. And it did not end in 100% success. I call it like a 99.9 because we got so close. But it wasn't 100% success. We did not land on the moon. We had a hard landing. In other words, the mission wasn't viable after it touched the surface. But as part of that mission, we got back images like this. This is a picture that me and my team actually took with our lander's camera. And if you look very carefully, you may see this blackish area of the Earth in the bottom left. And yeah, that is the moon in the forefront. That blackish area, believe it or not, we captured the solar eclipse happening over Australia on this day. Really unexpected. I remember seeing that and saying, what in the world is that? And our scientists came back very quickly to let us know. And even more recently, with this mission, this is a series of pictures that we took while we were in Earth's orbit. And it's just breathtakingly makes things so much more real than looking at just the data and the plots and the graphs that you saw before. So, because I want to leave you guys with time to ask all your questions, I just wanted to leave it with this. You may think of an engineer as a type of person who works behind a desk all day and has zero human interaction, but I'm here to tell you that that's absolutely not the case. In all of these pictures, I have been on a journey in my career working with so many people, not just from America, but from around the world, teaching a space camp in Korea, meeting the Prime Minister of Japan, hosting interns, going to events at museums for space, and even speaking at huge conferences about what our team and missions can do. I just want to say that this is a career that could take you super far, and you don't necessarily have to be the best at math or the best at physics or the best at science. I certainly wasn't, but the most important key is that I've never stopped learning, and I feel like that is what has made me into the person that I am today. So with that, I am very happy to take questions. Thank you.
Oh, Janelle, that was so incredibly amazing. Your journey is so inspiring. So our students today asked several questions. And I know that you have met some incredible people over your career. One of the people, y'all, I trained, her name is Katie Coleman. And so Janelle, what is it like to work with these people and meet these people for you as an aerospace engineer?
In the beginning, I feel like I was very overwhelmed. Like on my first day of starting this journey, I never thought that I was going to be in the same room as an astronaut, let alone need to talk to this man because he was my professor. And it was so much of the idea of the feeling that these incredible people like Katie Coleman, who's an astronaut, who's also a former astronaut who I had the chance to meet not too long ago, that they were unreachable, they were untouchable. They were these geniuses, these superhumans where you can look at them from afar, but you'd be crazy to think that you could accomplish even half of what they had in a lifetime. And I've realized that over the course of my career that the more I interact with these people who have done so many great things, the more I realize that they're just as human as me. I've had the great opportunity to be mentored by people across the board. I always like to choose somebody who's very close in age and point in their career as me, who I aspire to be more like. as well as somebody who I could potentially see myself in the next 5 to 10 years. And then lastly, like that super reach goal, the astronaut, the executive director of the lab. And from speaking to people across this spectrum, I've realized that their stories all start kind of similarly as mine. Is that they didn't think they were going to do that one day. Maybe they had dreams and they had hopes, but they started off as an engineer, or as a scientist, or as some kind of contributor to space. And just like me, they were unsure of themselves. They didn't know that they were going to be cut out for this, but they did try their best and they did work hard. And after getting that perspective, I think it's inspired me to realize that truly there is no limit to what you can be or do in life. And life can take you on any path as long as you're open to that change of opportunity.
Right. Oh, so good. Such good advice. So Trinity Episcopal School added some questions in the chat. Are you yourself, Janelle, planning to go to space? And do you think that all astronauts are aerospace engineers?
Ooh, great questions. I have no plans in the near future to go to space. One, because I do not meet the qualifications of an astronaut to be able to apply for NASA. They, in recent years, have updated their entry-level requirements to include a master's. So this is a dream of yours. Make sure you get your master's after you get your bachelor's degree. It's never too late. I could absolutely go back to school, and that is not something that I have ruled out for myself. My mom would prefer I stay here on Earth. I think I'm able to do a lot of cool things from here on Earth, even though nothing that I've ever done has actually touched humans in space. But let's just say I'll keep an open mind about it. Now, as for, are all astronauts aerospace engineers? The answer is no. And the history of astronauts is not even to be an aerospace engineer. It's more so skewed towards pilots, people who know how to fly things. That was the initial goal of those first Apollo missions, to see if we could get ourselves down to the moon, not just by using software, but also by using humans in the loop who have done extreme flying of this type on Earth and things like military jets and fast moving planes. So you do not need to be an aerospace engineer. And if you look up some astronauts, even of the current class, you'll find that some of them are physicists, scientists who are mission experts in that area. We've had astronauts who have graduated with their degrees in medicine. It's because if we are going to go to places far, like Mars one day, it's going to be important to also have a doctor on board when you want one too. So the background is very varied and has been becoming more diverse as the years have gone on.
Gotcha. That was such a great answer. So Janelle, you talked about these untouchables, and it's so funny to hear you say that because I think you're one of the untouchables. Like you are doing amazing things. Y'all, she is being so humble. What her job is as the flight director, if you've ever watched like Apollo 13 and you see that man, Gene Kranz, standing in the mission control with his suit on, that's her. That's what she's doing for that mission. And just like she said, she's coordinating all of the malfunctions, all of the normal operations, and making sure that spacecraft is staying on its mission. So Janelle, I just feel blown away by your speech here today. It's so cool. So our students had a couple other questions for you if you're okay with them.
Sure thing.
Here's a really good one. If resources and constraints weren't a barrier, what engineering breakthroughs do you think would have the greatest impact on our world?
Great question. You know, when I think about the greatest impact, immediately when I think of the world of space, my mind goes to Earth. It's a place that we live. It's a place that we call home. And even though one day we may be able to go other places and find a way to live elsewhere, at the moment, this is our only solution. So it's very important that we do things to protect it. And right now, I think one of the most pressing issues that we have is that Earth's orbit is crowded, very, very crowded. We have become so good at creating satellites that provide many, many, how do you say, life critical services to us. GPS, if you need to figure out where to go, that's coming from satellites. if you need to be able to make a call for help in a remote area, or be able to find a way to communicate with others outside of where you live, or to get medications, it's facilitated by satellites. And it's become so crowded that there is a fear that in the near future, we could have collisions of these man-made objects. And if 2 to 3 more of these collisions happen, which they have in the past, it could create so much small debris that it makes low orbit Earth, low Earth orbit, uh, basically unusable. You just got all this trash floating around, uncontrollable. How do you get it out? So I think that the efforts that countries and the importance they're putting on space debris, figuring out ways to clean it up, and also another aspect of making sure that we treat that space as sacred, because astronomers, they look up at the night sky using these huge telescopes in order for us to learn more about the universe. And the sky is becoming so crowded that these bright objects are making it very difficult for them to be able to observe the stars and make their conclusions. So finding a way to make this place sustainable, not just for America, because America's not the only ones with satellites in space, but internationally, I think should be number one on the technological breakthroughs to make sure we secure a good future for ourselves here on Earth.
Oh, that's so excellent. And all the astronauts I've ever talked to, they all say the same thing. When you're looking back, it isn't like we see these lines. It's all one tiny fragile planet that we all share together.
Yes.
So Janelle, there's another great question for you over here. It's what is it like engineering a space rover?
A space rover. Ooh, what is it like? So I've actually never worked on a space rover before. I've only done orbiters. They just orbit around. And I've done landers. They land and they boop, they stay. But I have worked on projects that have rovers as a part of them. And I worked alongside coworkers who were operating the Curiosity and Perseverance rovers coming out of JPL. They like to say that they live in this thing called Martian time. So once you touch down on the surface of Mars and everybody's clapping like, oh, we successfully did it. The rover is deployed, it's charging its batteries, and it's ready to move. But the thing is, you got to think of it like having a car on Earth. A rover, it moves around and it can have mechanical issues. But unlike Earth, where if your car breaks down, you can bring it to the mechanic, who are you going to bring it to on Mars? There's no one, right? So you have to, just like any other space mission, be extremely calculated about what you do on a day-to-day basis. Essentially, every single day, the engineers get together and the scientists get together and they make a plan or like a roadmap of what they're going to do that day. Today, we saw some images from yesterday. We've determined that this rock that's about 8 meters in front of us is worth exploring. It looks like from these initial images that we might get some really cool science data out of it. So the rover driving team, we want you guys to come up with a path to get us over near that rock. And then, you guys that operate the science instruments, that have the claw and that have the drill, we need you to come up with a plan for how we can core some samples out of that. And they have these conversations and they debate sometimes on who gets dibs, because maybe this scientist wants to go to the left and this scientist wants to go to the right. They come up with a solution, then they execute on that. They upload all of those commands, and then they send them to the spacecraft, who then executes on them. And then they review what happened and repeat the cycle again and again. So it's a very cyclic, feedback-oriented system to drive a rover, and it's very safety-oriented. You don't just want to drive up the side of a hill super fast without taking any breaks or making sure you're not going to fall over and can't get back up. So it's very intentional, and anytime they do something new, they use the engineering model of the rover that you saw in my slides before, that was behind me in that dirt area called the Mars Yard at JPL. They'll do it with that one first, just to make sure it's safe. And if they can prove to themselves that it seems okay on the ground, they'll actually build hills to imitate what they see on Mars. They could prove to it that it's going to be safe, and that's what they'll move forward with the activity on Mars and the actual rover.
Fantastic. So there's a couple other questions related to that. One that's okay. So you were looking at that rock that you were just gonna go get. Is there a way inside the spacecrafts to analyze these rocks or different materials that are being selected on the different planets or moons?
That's yes. Yes, short answer. Yes. So the official name of Curiosity or Perseverance, I can't really remember. I think it's like MSL, Mars Sample Laboratory, where essentially the rover has its own lab on board. I'm not sure if that's Curiosity or Perseverance, but it has its own lab on board. So a lot of people ask, well, after you land on the moon, when do you come back? Answer is, you don't. You don't come back. So if you want to do some cool science experiments, you got to bring everything you need with you, or have a way to do those science experiments on the ground by just having the data itself. In this case, the rovers have these science laboratories on board the vehicle that drives around, so it can pick up a sample, put it in its back, and actually run experiments on it, and then send the results of those experiments back to the scientists on Earth using those big antennas, using everything we talked about with the communication system. So yeah, it's pretty cool, right? You can have a portable lab operated entirely by robots, controlled by people on Earth.
It's amazing. So, Janelle, you mentioned a couple of things that are very similar to my background too. So, having to train people, both the flight controllers and the astronauts, and to do this like over and over again in simulations so that you know your people are ready. Like, how many simulations do y'all have to do in order to like be prepared for your mission? Do you have like a set number, or is it just after they've demonstrated certain skills?
It's a good question. So we have simulations and rehearsals for two different purposes. We have rehearsals that are meant to validate the activity. What I mean by that is, do we have the correct procedures? Do they actually work? Maybe they worked by themselves, but do they work all together? Do the checklists that we're following make sense? Did we make any mistakes? Is the outcome that we get from the simulated test of this activity as expected? Or are we seeing something strange and need to investigate before doing it in space? That's one purpose of the rehearsal. The other is to certify the engineers who are going to be a part of it in that room. Now, it's going to vary mission to mission. I remember hearing about like the Martian land. If you wanted to become a Martian who drives the rover, you go through like a 6 month to 1 year training and maybe one position. And then over time, the longer you stay on the project as an operator, you get a chance to operate every single part of the rover until you've done them all, which opens you up to becoming in a higher level, like a flight director. So that's one example of a plan. For us, we basically set a date when we're moving on from building and creating everything we need into the phase where we're validating that everything works. You just got to start testing. If you wait too long to test, and you'll never have enough time. And basically the idea is to have at least one rehearsal every single week. And this serves to certify the engineers, to give them practice, as well as to make sure that everything we have works correctly. So it's tens of rehearsals, not hundreds, which can be very different from like a place like NASA, where you're never getting on console until you spent a year just shadowing somebody else, perhaps, and just doing the same things that are just very routine, very basic all the time. To in a startup environment, you've got to get spun up quickly. So ask your questions while you still can.
Right, right. Oh, that's wonderful. So there's another question coming in. Have you ever been to space?
I have not, but I felt like I have. I'm telling you right now, being a part of these missions and operating from the ground, you are sometimes the first to ever see things like in the world. When we took that image of the solar eclipse over Australia, there is nothing like it. That's never been done before. There's never been that vantage point of that kind of moment, of that kind of event over Earth. And when we downloaded the picture, it was me and my team in the room. You go, we huddle around the computer, like, oh, decode it, decode it, decode it. Like, oh, put it on the big TV, put it on the big TV. And you're just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. We're really there. We're really out there. So it feels like you are in space because every day your life really revolves around it. Just as an example, I like to say that spacecraft never sleep, which means that neither do I. So I'm giving this talk to you right now, and I said I'm in Tokyo. You can kind of see it's dark out, but for perspective, it's 1:49 a.m. I have a contact with my spacecraft in about 3.5 hours. So I need to be at work at 5:30 a.m., need to leave my house at 4:30 a.m. And this is the life. The
Wow.
spacecraft sometimes needs to do things when it needs to do it. And sometimes those antennas are not available during normal working hours. So you make do by working when you can, whatever it takes, right? To me, it feels like a 6-month sprint. You do everything you absolutely need to do just to get the job done so that at the end of the day, you can say, we gave it our all. You know, you can't say anything about that performance. We gave it our all. So yeah, we'll see how I fare later on in today though.
Oh, Janelle, I hope you'll have a lot of coffee. Janelle, you have been so amazing. Your experiences, the time that you're sharing, your sleep that you would have been getting that you're sharing with us. I just feel so fortunate for all of us here to learn from you. Do you have any final things that you might want to say to the students as they're kind of wrapping up their school years, things that you want to make sure that they hear?
Yes, I do actually. So you may be thinking to yourself or hearing me talk and be thinking to yourself, you know, this sounds a little cool, or maybe this is something I could do, but my grades like aren't the best. Or I'm not going to MIT. So like realistically, let's be real, like, is this even something that I should even be thinking about at this point in my life? And my answer is absolutely. NASA doesn't hire from one type of school. This company doesn't hire from one type of country, even. I'm working alongside people from Belgium, Thailand, Brazil, France, Spain, Japan, of course, Hong Kong, from literally all over the world. And we come from all walks of life. Not everyone is a former NASA employee. Some people worked in completely different industries, but they found ways to apply their skills and expertise here. And this difference of backgrounds, difference of skills, difference of grades, even of struggles coming through it. Think of my rejections. Think of the fact that I wasn't the best. I had classmates who landed the internship and I didn't. You literally can do anything if you work hard at it, believe in yourself, and most importantly, don't give up. And there's never a point where it's too late for you. I've worked alongside people who had entire careers in the humanities and switched over to operating spacecraft at NASA 20, 30 years into their career. It's possible. It is possible. It may not seem like it now, but it absolutely is. Grades are not the end all be all. You have no idea your potential in life, let alone for right now. So don't be afraid to be the hero in your own story and not be afraid to pick up the sword and start the adventure. Because if you never do that, you'll never find out what you can be.
Oh my goodness. That was so amazing. Be the hero in your own story. Janelle, I have chills. I have a few other takeaways that we got from you. Dare mighty things. And for you, it's been life-changing. And I know for these students, it's going to be life-changing too. A really important one that we sometimes overlook. Soft skills matter. You were so good about recognizing your team and talking about the efforts of your team and how they all come together. And it's just so incredible to see that teamwork that goes on there at JPL. And you just said it, and I'm going to re-echo it again, never giving up. These are such amazing advice for our students here, Janelle. Thank you. Thank you. We are so fortunate.
Thank
and
you.
just
Oh.
yes, good luck tomorrow. I'm just going to share a few quick pictures of our students and all of the efforts they had put into their design so that you could have a sneak peek of all that. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jillian. We've got Dover High School, Trinity High School was just before, Moorhead, Boiling Springs, Spark Lab. Y'all guys did amazing today. Thank you so much for being here. And Jillian, feel free to take it away.
I mean, I'm speechless after that keynote. I don't even know, Janelle, just thank you. Your energy, first of all, contagious. Your journey and your story is so inspiring. I feel like everyone on this call just wants to be your friend and just like hear a podcast from you. Thank you so much. And I also want to say thank you to Betsy. You did an excellent job leading this event. ET staff and teachers and students, thank you guys for being here. You were amazing, engaged the whole day, and that was an awesome wrap up. And so we really, really enjoyed being here with you today. We will drop information in the chat about our upcoming events. We have not one, but two, same day, May 7th for semiconductors, Eastern time and Pacific time. You don't want to miss it. We'll get you those exit tickets and the full recording of today's event. Again, thank you to you all for being here and have a good one.